In Washington, it's Senator John Kerry's turn to face the Congress as lawmakers debate his nomination to become America's next Secretary of State. Meantime, Hillary Clinton, the current top diplomat, defended her handling of last September's attack on the U.S. consulate in Libya. VOA's State Department Scott Stearns is covering both stories. We begin with his report on Benghazi.
Secretary Clinton says the attack on the U.S. mission in Benghazi that killed 4 Americans, including the ambassador, is part of a broader strategic challenge in the fight against terrorism.
The Arab revolutions have scrambled power dynamics and shattered security forces across the region. Instability in Mali has created an expanding safe haven for terrorists who look to extend their influence and plot further attacks of the kind we saw just last week in Algeria.
Clinton told lawmakers she's accepted all of the recommendations of an independent review board, 85% of which will be completed by the end of March.
Use this opportunity to take a top-to-bottom look and rethink how we make decisions on where, when, and whether people operate in high-threat areas, and then how we respond to threats and crises.
Political fallout over the response to the Benghazi violence focused on UN Ambassador Susan Rice, who gave a series of television interviews shortly after the attack, linking it to Islamist protests, not a terrorist attack. Senator John McCain called that unacceptable.
The American people deserve to know answers, and they certainly don't deserve false answers. And the answers that were given the American people on September 15th by the ambassador of the United Nations were false.
And McCain said Secretary Clinton must be more forthcoming about what really happened in Benghazi.
There are many questions that are unanswered, and the answers, frankly, that you've given this morning are not satisfactory to me.
Clinton said bringing to justice those responsible is more important than determining their motives.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again.
Clinton said she needs Congress's help to see Libya's democratic transition through to a successful conclusion.
Right now, Libya is still dangerous. It is still in a very unstable status, and whatever we can do for them, we at least ought to agree we need to do and get out there and start delivering.
Cato Institute analyst Malu Innocent says U.S. challenges in Libya are substantial.
Moving forward, we're still going to see a degree of chaos within Libya, even as it has a veneer of sort of a Western democracy.
Whatever can be done to reduce threats to U.S. diplomats abroad, Secretary Clinton says they accept a level of risk in their work and cannot do their jobs from bunkers. Scott Stearns, VOA News, the State Department.
Well, as we said, our correspondent Scott Stearns is covering both Clinton and Kerry, and he joins us now live from the State Department. Hello, Scott.
Yes, Vincent.
We know that the hearing is still ongoing. What can you report about this process?
Given the broad bipartisan support for Senator Kerry's nomination, this hearing isn't really about him getting the job, but more about what he's going to do with it when he does get it. He opened his testimony today saying that one of the first priorities for American diplomacy is getting its own financial house in order, because it's difficult to go to other countries and say that you have to work with the IMF and make economic reforms and have some sort of economic stability if that doesn't exist in the United States itself.
Now, we saw some really glowing tribute to him by Arizona Senator John McCain. What makes Senator Kerry such a favorable candidate on both sides?
Senator McCain and Senator Kerry worked together for a long time to normalize U.S. relations with Vietnam, where both Senator Kerry and Senator McCain fought in that war. Senator Kerry, as the son of a Foreign Service officer, has spent a lifetime traveling overseas. We heard at the start of today's hearing that he's made 90 trips abroad as a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So he's pretty well versed in international affairs and is a known commodity to many of the leaders around the world. So the learning curve, if you would, for Senator Kerry would be relatively short here at the State Department.
We know is still going to find quite a slew of issues to deal with, but if confirmed, what are going to be the real top priority issues for Senator John Kerry?
While that confirmation hearing is still going on, the issues that have come up so far have included Russia continuing to move forward on the disarmament process there and allaying Russian concerns about a missile shield that the United States intends for Europe. Senator Kerry has already said that it's imperative that Iran comply with its international obligations to allow inspections of its nuclear facilities. He's also pledged to follow through on the recommendations that Secretary Clinton has already begun here following the Benghazi attack, saying that he understands well the sacrifices that Foreign Service officers make in serving abroad.
Just in a word, if confirmed, when is he typically expected to take the office, rather?
I don't know that. Secretary Clinton has events on her schedule for next week that I assume she would like to finish as Secretary of State, so I would not imagine that we would see him taking office before the end of next week, but honestly, I don't know.
Thanks a lot, Scott, for that report from the State Department.